stopped yet. I should have. All right. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play The Quiet Year. Shh. Shh. I'm saying shh to my air conditioner, which should be turning off any second now. I gave it the little command, and it has to finish thinking about that first, but none of that really matters to you who are listening. Oh, there it goes. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I am just a player tonight with my fellow players, Starla Hutchton.
Hello.
Mark Kilfoyle.
I am just me.
And Jenny Meltzer.
Hello.
Hi. We are short one Paul Fisher tonight, so instead of our regular session, we are going to be playing a game called The Quiet Year. Now, the standard setting of The Quiet Year, so even just to briefly read the game's own description of what this is a map drawing game. Together you play as a community rebuilding after the collapse of civilization. Your decisions will define the values and future of this community, and these decisions will get added to a map, which is constantly evolving. This map blends literal cartography with symbols, creating a rich visual record of land and people. Players collaborate to steer the fate of the community, while also introducing problems and tensions along the way. And so what I thought would be fun is, instead of using the game's suggested starting civilization story, we could tell the story of Dinuther. If folks don't have fresh to mind what we know of Dinuther's history in our regular games setting, what we know is that there was a community of an island community that was frequently threatened by dark spirits which attacked them. And so in an attempt to stop these from happening, a woman named Dinuther went up to a strange artifact called the Pillar and returned with a magical power that allowed her to seal these spirits away and use them for magical power. And so now not only is this community no longer threatened by these dark spirits, but they have access to a new kind of magic never before known. And I thought that might be a fun setting to tell our story in. Does that sound good to everybody?
For the audio at home,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what we have done is we started by taking a deck of cards. We divided it into suits because each suit represents one season in our year. We are playing a different, a slightly, what's called a fleeting year, where we've removed some cards from the deck in order to make the game a little bit shorter. But we are going to be playing through this year, and then once we reach the King of Spades, something happens. And I think we'll maybe decide what happens when we get there. But let's see. So we've got the blank page here in Roll20, which we're going to use for our map. Before we start with the cards, we're going to establish some of the landscape. As we play, we're going to update the map to represent new discoveries, conflicts, and decisions. The map will blend literal cartography with symbols. We won't write words on it, but common symbols are fine. We'll all take turns drawing on the map. You do not have to worry about drawing well. I like what it says here is every drawing is good enough. Then there's it suggests we point to the turn summary card that we don't have because we're just using the PDF, but we'll, it explains how play works from week to week, and we will talk over that in a moment. There's also going to be, normally it would be dice, but we're going to use clocks that are project clocks. And when our community starts a project, we'll place a clock on the map to note how many weeks it will take to finish. Each week, they tick down by 1, and when it reaches 0, the project is complete. And then there are going to be contempt tokens, and when we played this on the Saturday night campaign, I had, let's see, what was the one that I used? um, I I think I just used. It's yeah, okay. I have a goat token that will represent our contempt tokens, and I'm going to set it so that everybody can control them. Right now, I'll just leave this one up in the corner here, but everyone should be able to make a copy of that and put it where they like, when and if that matters. They represent simmering tensions in the community. And then the deck, as I mentioned, represents our quiet year. Each suit is a season. At some point in winter, we'll draw the King of Spades. That is when the Frost Shepherds will arrive, is as in the standard setting here, and the game will immediately end. Here's a question for everybody before we proceed further. Given what we have decided on as far as our setting, rather than having it be one literal year, we could choose to have it represent a larger period of time. And therefore, imagine that we have projects that would take, like, maybe instead of a number of weeks, it would be a number of years. And we could have it be a longer period of time in that way. Or we don't have to. And then we will also have to decide either before or when the time comes what happens that is the equivalent of the Frost Shepherds arriving. So, and, oh.
That one I know.
Oh, yeah? Do tell.
Wouldn't that be when the bubble goes up around the island?
I was going to suggest that would be one possible approach to use. And so that could be, but if we use that, it probably means that we would either need to start much further along or have our year represent a longer period of time, and just framing it that way in our minds. Does that sound like a good plan?
I think it'd be fun and epic to have it with multiple years at a time.
Yeah. So let's try that. And so what we'll just need to do is understand that anytime periods of time come up, we might need to reframe some of the questions or anything to represent that this is over a longer period of time. But it also allows, when we do projects and such, that those projects can be more epic in scope. It doesn't have to be something that would realistically be completed only in a few weeks, right? And I think also we should, there's no requirement for this, but I think we should be looking to reflect some of the things that we do know about what the culture was like in Dinuther, right? Which is not monolithic, right? Not everybody agreed on how certain things would happen. But there were certainly voices that wanted to make powerful use of this new magic. There were certainly voices that wanted to use it in more moderation, and then there were also people who just straight up wanted to conquer the world, right? So we don't choose to play specific characters, but we should make sure that all those pieces of the society are reflected at some point. So when we play, we don't control specific characters or act out scenes. Instead, we all act as abstract social forces within the community. At any point, we might be representing a single person or a great many. It's a story about social forces and their impact on the land rather than being about specific individuals. At the same time that we're playing as the community, we're also looking for opportunities to introduce new and interesting challenges to the story. It's our job to make sure that there are always difficult decisions to be made and uncertainties to be explored. As we introduce interesting challenges for the community and then figure out how to address them, tensions will emerge that ultimately reveal the character and future of our community. So, before the first week of play, we establish a general landscape for our map. This begins with a brief discussion, taking 2 minutes at the most, about the general terrain and habitat. And I think so this can be as simple as someone saying, how about a community in a rocky desert? Everyone nodding in agreement. So, one thing that we do know already is that we are talking about an island nation. It is not Australia sized, but it is perhaps more along the lines of Hawaii sized. Or what do we think? How big an island are we talking about? Do we want our map here to be a whole island? With, of course, the pinnacle of the tallest mountain on it being where the pillar is. Is that what do you all think? Because I'm just a collaborator here. I'm giving you all equal ability to decide details about our Dinuther
Well,
here.
was it an island nation or like an archipelago or?
Well, we
Island.
could decide. I mean, I think we had sort of assumed island single, but it doesn't have to be.
Hmm.
Was that a vote for island, Starla, or just you thought that's what?
Yeah, that's just kind of how I always pictured
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
So
It could be that there's kind of other minor islands in an archipelago, but only one of them is sort of meaningfully occupied or big enough to be settled in a significant way.
If we're talking about the whole island, that's a lot of villages or a city. Are
Well,
there any
I,
cities?
I think this is exactly what we're starting at right now. My impression, based on the way it had been described, is that there were a number of small coastal villages.
I keep coming back to this idea of it being like New Zealand.
Okay.
Don't know why. There's no reason that I should think that.
All
Does
right.
hobbits live there?
So,
Well,
so who?
and we kind of have the sense that it went from that small village to
Mhm,
wow, we've got all this power and all this other stuff too, which would
mhm,
be, I think, a nice fun way to go.
right. So, so basically what we have here is this whole big square is going to represent our map. And so once we've got our general concept, each of us introduces one detail about the local terrain and then sketches it onto the map. The sketches should be rough and simple, leaving lots of blank space for additions during play. The community itself should be fairly large on the map, perhaps taking up 1/3 of the sheet. Usually the community has about 60 to 80 members, but we don't have to follow that guidance. But the basic idea here is it sounds like, based on what we said, that we should go ahead and have. Does someone want to volunteer to draw the outline of our island?
I mean, I'm the least artistic among us,
Every
so
drawing is good enough. The book said so.
Don't draw.
I'm not scared. I'll pretend I know how to draw
Okay, great.
with this weird thing here.
Yes, no, it's understood that there are going to be some janky drawings on here. That is part of the fun, or at least I encourage you to think of it that way.
Um. All right. Here goes.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see if this works.
It probably won't show up until you like complete whatever line you're drawing. But then, as you're working on that, the rest of us, and Jenny will get to do this too, should be thinking about some detail. Oh, there you go. Nice. And so we should understand too that even if this, shape represents the island and outside it is water, there could absolutely, I mean, this could be, a seafaring society, right? And so we could absolutely have things be out in the water as well, right? So I'm going to, as part of this detail, I'll go ahead and add a mountain. I'm going to have it be, there's going to be a big central mountain, lots of little mountains around it. But at the top of that mountain is the pillar, which Here, let's just make that a just a little classic monolith there. And so, see, I that is an example here of I've added a detail to the map. And so now each of you just decide on something about the landscape of this island. It could be where the main part, like the biggest central, like if we were to imagine as this society develops and becomes more of a nation and less about scattered villages, where's the capital, right? That could be one detail. And so then draw something on the map to represent what your chosen detail is.
Do we have an order that we're going in, or just?
Nope. Each of us needs to do one. So I just did one just to kind of as an example.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go up here. So this area here, and I don't know how to like erase stuff, but
Well, you can select it with the arrow and then hit delete if you want to.
yeah. Oh, I can just move it. Okay. So my idea is to have the I don't like that shape. Okay.
The kidney is gone.
I thought it was a turkey. Like its
The
head.
turkey kidney is gone. That area is now known as Turkey Kidney.
The island looks kind of like a diving bird.
So
Yeah,
this
a little bit,
area in here, that's where the capital city is.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a little cove here that's kind of protected.
Mm-hmm.
And still plenty accessible for boats and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. And so we can imagine too that, like, as it suggested, the idea is our community would be relatively large, but we're also talking about having it be over the whole island with communication in between the areas. So it doesn't mean that any individual city has to be big like that. So great. Mark, Jenny, have some ideas?
I'm gonna make Mark go first, just because I made the diving bird island.
It's true. You did.
I'll encourage you to just like things that come to mind. You don't have to be too precious about it. Like part of this game is the discovery.
I kind of like the idea of opposite to the capital.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lighthouse,
Okay.
which is kind of a beacon on the horizon.
Nice.
So I'll put a little blue. Let's see, I can make it. Can I do anything with it? I don't know if I can.
Well, what are you trying? I mean,
It's trying to fill it in. I'm just playing around. I haven't used this tool.
when
There
you
we go.
want to draw one to, well, you figured it out.
Yeah.
All right, great. So so here's the question, and it could be something that like, it could be that as we start, it is a relatively simple low tech lighthouse and then becomes bigger and more impressive, or do we think that there's actually something like ancient about it, like it's been there somehow, there's something mystical about it?
Oh, maybe that's what catches the light at dawn, is the lighthouse. This dawn's tear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it appears like the light on the horizon.
Could be.
Yeah, I think it's an old structure that survived the collapse, but it's not really well tended anymore.
Okay.
So also, if people need points of reference, there was that one shot that we did for Bartholomew.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that I kind of when I was thinking what could we do that would explore inside Dinuther more, I thought this one would be good because that one was a great game and lots of fun, but we did have our characters pretty much immediately leave the civilized part and strike out, into the more wild part. And so as a result, I was specifically thinking, well, like what's something that would have us grapple more with the actual cities in the civilization part. So great. Lighthouse, capital city, mountain pillar. You got one, Jenny?
Yep. I'm gonna build. There's like a colony over in that same section where the lighthouse is, like maybe behind it,
Okay.
of farms. So there's like farmland, like right there.
Okay. Like that's where the most fertile land for
Right.
crops are. Nice.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. So now that we've each added a detail, next we each name important resources for the community, something that we might have in either abundance or in scarcity. And we don't draw it right away, but it says some examples include clean drinking water, adequate shelter, fish. Choosing a resource makes it important if it wasn't already. So, for example, it says if you pick gasoline, it becomes our community something our community wants and needs, right? So we don't want to list. So anything that we are listing as a resource here is something that is going to be has to be meaningful in some way, like either by the fact that we have a lot of it means we can do something, or the fact that we're short of it means it's a problem, right? So scarcity of coffee beans when we have lots of tea leaves probably wouldn't be something, right? It's like something that's important is the idea. So we each name a resource, and then we choose one of those to be in abundance, and whoever named that one draws the abundance on the map, and then the rest are in scarcity, and the other players figure out how to draw that. And so this is where you might not draw a literal map thing. You might draw something representative or symbolic, right? Especially if you're having to say you have a lack of clean water, you have to decide how you want to draw that, right? But so I'm going to suggest as a resource is I will go ahead and have this, one as established part of the setting is that magical power. Our people have access to a lot more magical power than they used to. And that is, new. And so that would be something that's in abundance. And I will reflect that with, here. Little radiating lines coming out of the pillar.
It's the internet.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi
And so
saved them from the terrible shadows.
So that's not the one for my turn. I'm adding that because that's something that we established in creating our setting, right? So, but what I'll say as another is perhaps workable metals as a possible resource.
Precious gems.
Precious gems. Huh? And remember, we're going to pick one to be in abundance and the others are in scarcity.
Sorely tempted to go like completely abstract, but nothing really sticks in my mind yet.
I was gonna say turnips, so
Well, there's going to be opportunity for abstract stuff, I'll say. So probably this step, it would be better to have it be a little more grounded. There will be opportunity for abstract stuff, believe me. So if we've already, I'm going to actually suggest that maybe we have gems and workable metals. Those are maybe we could have that be something like
mining
like a
resources.
combined one, right? instead of separate ones.
Mineable resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, having lived in Iceland, I'm gonna go with trees, like wood,
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
as a
nice.
resource.
All right.
Hmm. Hmm. Ah. Oh yeah. There's all kinds of things spinning in my mind, but
Oh,
nothing's
sure.
really landing.
Well, just flip a coin. Anything we don't mention, all that means is that it is present in amounts sufficient that it's probably not going to matter very much to the story. So we are naming ones that we are deciding now will matter in one way or another.
Not the bubble.
Well, there's two running around in my head. One of them is actually whales,
Hmm.
not fish, because whales have a lot of other uses from oil
Mm-hmm.
to building materials, and the other is commerce.
Hmm.
That they're literally going to either cut themselves off or they're going to just bully everybody else around and lose that connection. But I think for this point, I will go whales.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
So do we
yeah.
want to say what we mean with whales as a resource? Like, what is it about whales? Like, are we talking about whaling for like oil and meat, or is this more like or like almost like livestock or something like that? So when we say whales as a resource, I'm just mean like what?
Right.
How are they used?
I think I was thinking primarily in terms of whaling,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also kind of liking the idea of whales pulling boats. So
Whale farmers.
Instead of tugboats, they have
Yeah.
whales.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, like
yeah.
what if our island here is in a weird well, so here's the other piece. I was going to say in a weird location where they actually don't get a lot of wind. Like the air is still compared to a lot of other places. But one thing we also can remember is that Marushka, the spirit, was once the
Mm.
spirit of like the island and the surrounding waters. But that doesn't
And
mean that whales like trained whales couldn't have been something that are, you know, used almost like domesticated like
Druids
workhorses
need
or
jobs.
oxen or something like that. Like you could train whales to, drag fishing nets or pull boats and stuff like that.
I mean, it might be easier to travel around the island than across the island if you
Hmm.
have a whale.
Hmm. So
They're putting like
remember,
double decker bus things on their backs.
yeah. Okay. So did we have one for everybody? We had trees. Mine. Oh, I think because we ended up kind of combining mine and Jenny's,
Yeah.
right?
So should
So
I come up with a different one?
well, or I can if you would rather if you want mineable resources to be yours, I can do another one or vice versa. I'm fine with either way.
I will say livestock.
Okay.
I'm
You know,
sticking with the farming theme.
sure, sure. Well, no, I mean that's meaningful. An island nation, it's this stuff matters. Okay, so our resources named mineable resources like metals and gems, livestock, whales, as in like trained whales used as for work as opposed to harvesting whales for like whaling, and trees for wood. So now we have to, between the four of us, decide which one of those resources is the one that is plentiful and the rest of them are scarce.
I like the idea of there just being a ton of whales around.
Yeah? I mean, that's kind of fun. I don't hate that at all.
I also kind of like the idea of there being a ton of mineable resources that,
Mm-hmm.
like precious gems and metals
Yeah.
that for exporting. And then later on, when they're trapped inside the bubble, they have all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff and it's sort of meaningless,
Right.
Everybody has, diamond rings on every finger,
Uh-huh.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, so I think one of the things that I'm wondering, because Wales is fun, but it's almost defined by like it only makes any sense if it's like what does a scarcity of that mean? Right? It could just mean, for example, that we were used to doing it that way, and for whatever reason, now they're scarce, right? So it could just be that that is how we had always done it, but now the whales are scarce, right? If the whales are scarce, that's how would that what would that mean is the idea, right? So um, it sounds. I mean, I think any of these could be interesting, especially if we talk about starting to over a long period of time build things like bigger cities. Is like, what does it mean if you either do or do not have lots of metals and gems, or for that matter, wood for like from trees, right? You know, either of those being either present in abundance or scarce could significantly change how cities develop.
I guess kind of the idea I was thinking a little bit about it being easier to go around the island than across the island.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of mineable resources would kind of make the center of the island nothing but a big mountain that would be hard to pass,
Well, it's
which
also
makes Tillith's voyage even more impressive that she actually went directly to the mountain.
right, yeah, because I think that's part of what we had kind of established in that story is that it was a difficult journey. Like you don't, no one really does that. It's considered dangerous and scary. And so maybe that does make sense that like it is much more common to travel around the island by water than. Um,
I
so
mean,
do, I
in
mean,
that case, the scarcity of whales is a scarcity of
yeah.
transportation, which kind of cuts everything off from each
I
other.
mean, I have personally, I actually am kind of leaning towards having an abundance of whales seems actually like the most fun to me. But I'm certain if anyone wants to make a case for a different choice, that is totally cool too. I mean,
I
I'm
want that
just
to be like a phrase that people say, the abundance of whales.
yeah,
It just feels like that's a thing.
because that's just like that's a cool detail. We already thought of like a couple of ways that that's kind of just fun to think about. And then, of course, the idea of a scarcity of wood, a scarcity of mineable resources, and a scarcity of livestock are all problems that our society needs to figure out how to solve, right?
And then they turn to the whales to get their wood, to get their livestock, and to get their mineable resources. Whales have all three. They are magical
So,
creatures.
do we want, so that would kind of be my vote, I think, but
Mhm.
certainly I'm not set on it. Does anyone want to pitch one of the others to be the abundant one?
The more I think about it, the abundance of whales, that could get real dark real fast.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm not
true.
sure that I'm feeling that. So
Well,
I think
I
I
mean,
think I like the abundance of mineable resources
okay.
better.
Okay. I mean, what we could also do if we wanted was to say the abundance of whales, but whales are not harvested in the ways like we could avoid, you know, um, uncomfortable ways of that going. But it's also fair to just say we do abundance of mineable resources instead.
Because maybe whales used to be abundant and now they're
Yeah.
not.
Well, right. Yeah. So that could be very well be what it is that like it used to be that we depended in fact maybe that's even a thing is that we it used to be that like the whales were a gift from like Marushka and they helped us out and then for whatever reason now that we have this new power they seem like they're not around as much anymore and we're having to figure out new ways to do all that stuff.
Again, I kind of like the abundance of mineable material just for the
Mm-hmm.
decadence that it can produce, and
Sure.
also
Yeah.
the sort of industrial
Yeah.
nature of suddenly you have all kinds of metal, so
Mm-hmm.
everything is made of metal.
Well, and for that matter, that dovetails with our previous story in Dinuther, where they have like big like mecha constructs,
Mhm.
Hmm.
right? So okay, yeah, let's do that. It sounds like we've got a consensus there that we have an abundance of mineable resources, and so that would be something we want to draw. And I think so. Let's see, maybe I'm gonna draw Um, I'm going to draw right here. I'm going to draw some hills. And in those hills, I'm going to draw some little diamonds. And a gold bar. And I'll, just because I want to, I'm gonna also make a little chunk of like ore with some other thing in it. All right, so those little symbols represent that we've got an abundance of mineable resources. And so that means now that each of you who have one of these others needs to figure out a way to draw scarcity of livestock, scarcity of trees, scarcity of whales. Scarcity of whales seems like maybe the hardest. But
Be like whale. Draw a little whale in one of those no smoking.
Yeah,
signs.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
All right. I see up by the Capitol, are those like grasslands or something like?
That's forest.
Okay.
It's trees.
Okay. But we have
Bird's eye view. It's not. They're gonna kind of all blend together and be small.
Okay. So for whatever reason on this island, although there are forests, none of them ever get big enough or sturdy enough for lumber to be a commonly available resource. Is that kind of the idea?
hey.
Because maybe it's ends up kind of like almost a little bit more like jungly tropical rainforest with so lots of dense brush, but the trees themselves are maybe hard to get to and don't end up being that big or that sturdy once you've harvested them.
Yeah, when I lived in Iceland, I never saw a tree over 4 feet tall.
Hmm. And then for scarcity of livestock, do we think that this was something where we did have some before, and we lost a lot of them? Because we do imagine that this was something where one of the biggest things that these demon dark spirits used to do is kill livestock, and so
Mhm.
our culture is still
El
dealing with a
chupacabra.
lot of yeah.
Yeah, we
Uh,
have chupacabras.
so, although we have a society that is in some ways dependent on using livestock for food, at the same time, there was, our populations are small because um, a lot of them were killed by the spirits. And maybe even the ones that are left are not necessarily that healthy right now.
That sheep that I just drew got bit by a chupacabra.
Oh no, poor sheep. Okay, and then looks like we've got whales far away from the island. They've left us.
They're swimming away.
All right, great. So now that we have got these, selected, um, uh, we just need to remember what those are. But then as we move forward, the week, or rather, each turn of play, instead of being a week, it's going to be, we don't need to define a precise period of time unless we want to. We could go ahead and even call it decades or something like that. but maybe it's easier to leave it a little bit vague and just call it turns. But the basic idea here is that um, each time it's in our turn, we will draw a card. I have the card, so I will draw it, but then each of us will read what that card represents from the oracle at the bottom. We will, if we have any projects going, we will adjust their clocks by one. And then the player whose turn it is will take an action, which means to either discover something new, hold a discussion, or start a project. And to discover something new would just be, for example, saying, like, I have decided that as we were exploring the south part of the island, we found a cave with some strange ruins in it, right? Like, that would be an example of something that could be like discover something. And then, as I mentioned, hold a discussion would be an opportunity for us to have various voices within the community discussing a tricky question. And then start a project would be like to say, we need to research a way to use our magic to grow some of these trees more sturdy so we can use them for wood. Like, that would be an example of something that could be a project. And then there might be other things that we might choose to have be a project as we go along. But that's the basic way that the turns work. Does that sound good? Everyone ready to kind of get started with that? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. So let's see. I think it has a thing that suggests how to who should go first. But
It said clockwise.
okay. All right. So the other thing is too that, like, now that we've established our basic thing, like this, it has a section where it's called it restraint. And so as when we play the quiet year, we must refrain from freewheeling conversations about what to do next because there are specific mechanics in the game for discussing community issues. And so, for example, this is where it might be that one player will decide to start a project that other players feel like, well, the people that I've kind of been representing wouldn't like that project, right? And that's fine, but that doesn't mean you should argue with the player who proposed the project. It means that you should reflect that in the game mechanics, right? Okay, and so we're also going to be a divided community, and then let's see. All right, so the time has come. Where did it say clockwise? Was that in?
I was going back up because I scrolled down to look for the card things.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all right. Like, it doesn't matter. So
It's just under the week.
how about
yeah,
this?
It's under the week.
Okay. Well, so in any case, oh yeah, so it doesn't suggest who should go first. How about this? I will go first because I've played it before and it can demonstrate what we're doing.
Works for me.
All right, so got my prepared deck here. I'm going to draw the first card, and it is the Jack of Hearts. Let's see, I'm trying to point that at the camera. The Jack of Hearts. So, looking at the Oracle, the Jack of Hearts is, you see a good omen, what is it? Or, you see a bad omen, what is it? And this is, so, and like now I can just choose which which it should be. And I think, just especially as we're just getting started, I'm going to say a good omen is that as we are, as we have been starting to kind of recover and starting to explore how to use this new magical power, and starting to look towards our future and not just be reacting to these dark spirits all the time, the lighthouse every morning has been glowing brighter. Like, I think the light from the lighthouse has just been getting brighter and more powerful and become more of a beacon throughout the island. And nobody's nobody supposedly has done anything, and yet many people see the sudden increase in brightness from the lighthouse as a good omen that speaks to the spirits being pleased with our community's direction. And so I'm going to draw some little radiating lines around the lighthouse to reflect that it is glowing brighter and more impressive. And so then the next step is to adjust the dice for projects, which we don't have any yet, but I'm going to now take an action to start a project. And that project is going to be to research. You know what? I'll just go with the kind of example one that I mentioned earlier. The project is going to be research a way to use this new magical power to make trees that grow faster and stronger, to make them more readily available for construction materials. So the thing that we need to do as a group is to decide how much time, how many turns do we think that that would take? Is that because I think that that doesn't necessarily sound like it would be one of the biggest ones, but maybe also not completely trivial. So I'm going to propose maybe 3 turns to reflect some research and some time for some new trees to grow. But the idea would be that perhaps once that project is done, it essentially removes the trees from being a scarcity, specifically because we have created magically grown tree farms. So anyone want to suggest that it should be more or less than that?
No, that sounds good to me.
All right. Here, I'm
I
just
mean,
going to
this
grab
is
a clock.
after a calamity, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what it reflects is not so much a single calamity, but that our society had been plagued by the attacks from these spirits all the time, that just made it hard for us to build anything without it just getting destroyed. And so we were always just kind of on the back foot, you know, dealing with this constant threat and not really able to do anything but barely survive. And so
Okay.
now that we have that handled and we have some power, finally we can start looking to do things with a little more ambition. So
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to propose that that is going to be I'm going to paste a clock. Did it not? I thought I copied it from the other page, but let me try that again. Yep. And then there we go. And so right now that is at 3 steps. And so that's going to be for our magic trees. Magic tree farms. Okay. And so that's a turn. So now perhaps we can just go in the order that I have us on screen, which would be Mark next, then Jenny, then Starla, and then me again. Does that sound good? All right. So, Mark, your card is the Queen of Hearts. So, you found the oracle where you can read what that means, or I can read it for you?
I got it right here. So the Queen of Hearts is a choice. What's the most beautiful thing in this area? Or what's the most hideous thing in this area? Ooh. I think I'm going to go hideous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a scar on the land left from these shadow creatures. Just
Okay.
barren gray earth that is dead, completely dead. It gives you the feeling of being dead when it's there.
Okay, great, cool.
So
I'm going to
let's
try
see
to
if I can
draw
find
that, yeah.
some barren earth in my thoughts here. Gray dots. All right. And I'm going to pick a spot we haven't dug into just to fill the map up a bit more. And it's going to be a bunch of ugly tears on the land. Kind of just this scar.
Nice. All right, so the next step on every turn is you take any existing project clocks and you reduce them by 1. So I'll take this one from 3 steps down to 2. And then you choose an action, which is to either start a new project of your own, or we hold a discussion, or you discover something new, which would be, again, kind of like you just decide something is true about, something on our map, and then draw it.
Okay. Uh, feel like projects are fun.
Mm-hmm.
This stage especially.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Remember, they can be pretty ambitious because we're talking about matters of years for them to complete.
Right. Um, I think that they need help. So I think this is the beginning of the automaton project.
Okay. Nice. So
Very early.
to first start building constructs that can help. And in fact, actually, maybe that's almost explicitly a reflection of being short of livestock. Maybe it's not even just about food livestock. It's about things like horses and oxen and stuff like that. You need something to take up that lack.
And the other beasts of burden on the sea are now gone, so you have to replace them with giant mechanical octopuses.
And we have abundant mineable resources.
Yep.
All right. I still think that's probably a relatively big project because we're talking about developing something. So do we want to make that a big one with 6 steps, or?
I was thinking 6.
Yeah. Okay.
Why don't I put that in the base of the mountain here? Let's see if I can draw a very terrible person. Lucky person.
Okay. You don't draw that until it's complete.
Oh, until it's complete. Okay.
But I'll put a clock on here. What do you want to call the clock? The automaton project, or?
Yeah, let's keep it simple for now. And I'm only thinking like even basic automatons that we can add on as another stage of a project. And then, of course, a whole bunch of other terrible things happen. So.
Okay. Great. So that's another turn. So, Jenny.
Yes.
Your card is the 9 of hearts.
Oh, geez. So a charismatic young girl convinces many to help her with an elaborate scheme. What is it? Who joins her endeavors? And then you start a project to reflect. Or a charismatic young girl tries to tempt many into sinful or dangerous activities. Why does she do this, and how does the community respond? I think I'm going to go with the first one. Like, she has an elaborate scheme.
Do we think this is Tilitha, or do you think we're inventing a new charismatic young girl?
I think it's Tilitha.
Yeah?
I think it is.
Sure.
It sounds like her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of a good scheme. Maybe she wants to try to start a task force to hunt down the shadow creatures that were causing so many problems and try to eradicate them.
Okay, yeah. To seek out where they might be hiding.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, if you still get some that come out every so often, and like now you have some tools to fight them with better, but where they keep coming from, let's go
Right.
root them out.
Yep.
That seems like something Talitha, when young, would have gone for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it says who joins her endeavors,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it's going to be some of her friends,
Yeah.
like my friend in the diamond. And
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, so it could be the specific characters we mean, but we could also just say, what's like a category? Is this like other young people, or is this community leaders, or like that's
Bunch
we.
of
I think
bounty
it would
hunters.
be
Cadre
I
of
think it would
aged
be
people.
other young people who kind
Okay.
of grew up under this you know
Mm-hmm.
darkness, and now for the first time there's this possibility of something else, and they want to
Right.
make sure that it does not come back.
Okay. Great. So we're going to start a project to reflect this thing. How long do we think is this a long project to try to actually successfully root out the all the any remaining or hiding creatures?
I think it would be more medium.
Yeah, we want to call that a
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing to note about these projects is that there are things that can happen that might cause a project to have to be abandoned or to not make progress on a given turn and that sort of thing. But the idea is if you fill up the clock, it does happen. The project is successful. Now, that might have a variety of consequences, but the point is that you don't have to roll at the end or something. It's just a matter of filling it up. So, do we want to call this Shadow Hunt? Something
The
like that?
Shadow Stoppers,
Shadow Stoppers.
a division of the Shadow Ears.
Trying to. There we go.
The Night Marines.
Of the Light Mirrors.
The
The Shadow
Lightneers.
Stoppers, a division of the Light
The Night
Mirrors.
Marines that go after
The
nightmares.
Shadow Stoppers. Division of the Lightneers.
I like Marks too, the Night Marines.
Well, I mean, I'll.
I like them both. I like that one because it's sort of reflective of later.
Well, and
so.
and it suggests that it's possible that our pocket protector heroes were unconsciously echoing history. That's kind of fun. Okay, cool. So that is so that project was the result of your card. So we still now do advance all the clocks. I don't think we advanced that one because we just placed it, but the others we put Automaton Project down to 5, and Magic Tree Farms down to 1. And now you can choose still to start another project of your own, discover something, or have a discussion.
Can it go kind of like hand in hand with what I just did? Like maybe I discover an abandoned cavern.
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah. You could say that as part of the initial forays of the Shadow Stoppers, that you discover some cavern, right? Like, yeah, absolutely. So you're doing the discover something action then?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So go ahead and draw your cavern, and let's talk a little bit about what you discovered.
So it was just some like a rock over here, like a big mountain piece behind the mountains, and
Okay.
inside it there was just a cave,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm scribbling to make it darker because I haven't figured out how to color. But anyway, yeah. So it was just like in the behind the mountain, there was like a piece of it that sort of looks like it was almost separated, and there were like things hiding in there.
Right. So is it like perhaps like because anytime we discover something and put it on the map, it's because it's meaningful, right? So
Mhm.
maybe there's a question of like why were there so many there? Like and something about the nature of this cave makes it look different than the surrounding geography. Like why is that? That
Like
could
the cave itself was just plunked down there
yeah, yeah.
willy nilly.
Mhm. Okay, great. So, Starla, your
Yes.
your card is the 6 of hearts.
See. So that would be are there children in the community? If there are, what is their role in the community? Or how old are the eldest members of the community? What unique needs do they have? This feels more like very like post-apocalyptic kind of question.
Well, I mean, it could be, right? Like, it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be, but like, we are, the premise here is that we are, you know, any civilization that we had once had was really hamstrung for a long time by these spirits. But,
So I think that maybe people didn't quite live so long when they're being tortured by nightmares for
mm-hmm,
their entire lives. And that just the stress alone wears
mm-hmm.
on a body. So I'm going to say the oldest people in the community. Are we assuming these are humans?
Well, we had never quite established, but I mean, remember, of course, that the uh, the people from Dinuther we've met so far, we revealed are more along the lines of well, so here's the other question, I guess, that, the idea of shapeshifters like Lynn, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone there was like that. Maybe that's a reflection of they're the ones that got out and were touched by the pillar's power, right? So maybe not everyone from Dinether is like that, but this would be an opportunity for us to decide those things.
Well, I mean, we could go generic and say probably not much past middle aged.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't see like people hobbling around and wrinkled and like that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, so here's a question, because we have, especially because we decided to make our game be taking place over a longer period of time. There is the question of what it was like at the start, but does that condition persist? Or do we start getting older people in a way that we haven't had for a long time because now that threat is gone? Or is there some reason that that still happens?
Is there a baby boom generation just after the terrible tragedy?
Hmm.
I feel like there probably is. Like people will start living longer.
Yeah, and maybe that is a little bit of a case where like it is kind of an aging population has its own challenges, right? You have to find ways to take care of folks in ways that hadn't been so common before.
Mhm.
Hmm. Do they have unique needs beyond just the normal things that we would expect in our world from aging, or?
Well, I would think that because most of the people don't have a lot of experience with, you know, becoming very old, that any health concerns, anything that happens as people age, like
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be kind of mysterious territory,
Right.
something that people aren't used to having to deal with. So, um, there might actually that's probably a really good idea to start a project
Mm-hmm.
on dogs just lost their minds.
What
Um,
happens?
start a project for kind of a like social safety net. Like, what do we do
Mm-hmm.
when people can't? They get to a certain age and they can't work anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or they whatever.
All the more reason that we need helper automatons.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's Japan.
Yep.
That's literally what's happening in Japan right now.
I was going to say your dogs are freaked out because they're worried about the aging population of Dinah there.
All I can hear in my head, like the whole time you were talking about this, was like all these people as they're getting older because it hasn't happened. They're all like super hypochondriacs because like
Oh.
every little pain, you'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm dying!
Yeah.
It's finally happening."
Well, I mean, this does start to play it. So what it could be, for example, to start to lean slightly in the direction that we know some parts of this go. It could be a project researching life extension.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Could be something like that.
Or even social safety nets. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we care for people when they get older?
Yeah. Well, so it's your turn, so entirely up to you. And in fact, actually, we're leaning right now a little bit on where everyone's doing our first turn, so it's fine. But we're leaning
Mm-hmm.
more on the side of discussing it more than the game really intends.
Yeah. So we'll just go with. I like the idea of like researching, like extending lives so that people stay healthier longer.
Okay. So as you finished your card prompt, which we did, the next step would be to remove, advance the clocks. So our Magic Tree Farm clock completes. And I'll leave it on the page and move it over here for the moment. But Magic Tree Farms completes, and so I'm going to draw some trees on there. But I'll also advance the Automaton Project goes to 4. Shadow Stoppers goes to 2. And now, how many do we think we need for the life extension project, or is that what we want to call it? What do you want to call it?
That's fine. That's perfectly acceptable name. But it doesn't feel like it's. I don't know. I think it's gonna. It would be like a continuously ongoing thing,
Sure.
much like it is now. But
Right. Well,
probably
but
just
we
short
could,
term, like 3, kind of.
yeah. So we could have that represent at 3. There's a breakthrough,
The
and
Live Better Longer project.
okay, and so we could say that 3 represents now people are able to be healthier and live longer. And if we decided that we wanted to start like a follow-up project would be the immortality project or something like that, that would be right, something we could do at that time, right? Okay, so let me draw my um, draw some big trees in the places where we previously just had smaller ones. And okay. And so that is your turn. So next is my turn again. And we, do the next round. So I drew the King of Hearts. A young boy starts digging in the ground and discovers something unexpected. What is it? Or an old man confesses to past crimes and atrocities. What has he done? I. Huh. You know what? I'm going to say, as things have been advancing, as we now have a way to fight these spirits, and as Talitha and her crew of Shadow Stoppers has been hunting down the other spirits, I'm going to propose that an old man who is now dying of old age in a way that people aren't used to, and he has time to kind of linger and think about his life, confesses that he once also traveled to the pillar, and he thinks it's possible that the spirits were his fault. He doesn't know exactly what happened because it certainly wasn't what he thought he was going there for. But they started showing up after he went to the pillar. And he doesn't really remember what happened there, but he just can't ignore the timing of it. And he never felt that that was something that he could ever admit to until now, when it starts seeming like they are, um, that they're a problem of the past. Right. And so I think, let me think, I'm going to reflect that by uh, drawing some little sort of swirling. Oops, that's not what I meant. I was going to draw some swirling dark clouds around the pillar. Um, oh, it's weird. It's doing a different thing that I'm used to. Okay, I know how to do this. Just need to make that color different. Um, just to reflect that there are some darker elements of like what the pillar can do. Just because right now we're so used to all this new magical power and thinking of the pillar as this good thing, this blessing, but the idea that maybe also the bad thing that we're fighting maybe also came from there. Okay, so that's the prompt. Next, we advance all of the clocks. Also, one thing to just be aware of with this game is that right now we've been getting mostly prompts that are just about like discovering things or generally positive. As the year progresses and the seasons progress, we'll start getting more and more troubling cards. But we advance all of those. Then I'm going to choose to hold a discussion because this is something we haven't done so far, right? Just to kind of demonstrate how this works. So, with hold a discussion, you can choose to open with a question or a statement. And I'm going to open with a question. Does the Life Extension Project and the way we used the magic for the tree farms represent a violation of the natural order? And so that's the question. And so what that means now is that everyone can go in order. You weigh in on that question with a single statement of 1 to 2 sentences, and we'll go all the way around, and then I'll say the last one as an answer to the question. And a discussion never results in a decision being made. Everyone weighs in and then it's over. And it's just about the idea of saying, let's start getting a sense of how the community and its various voices within it feel about a subject. So, Mark, you would go first in our order.
Yes. I believe this is the beginning of the downfall of using the shadow magic. They just don't realize it.
Jenny?
I say no, because all of those things would have been available to them if they didn't have the obstacles before.
I say no, with the caveat that so long as things remain in balance, we're okay. There's nothing wrong with improving life, you know?
I'm going to say Yes, but what's so great about the natural order anyway? This is better. All right. So that is holding a discussion. And so this is also just an opportunity to remind about the contempt tokens, which we haven't really used much, and it may come up more later or not. But the idea would be like if, for example, you felt like you're representing a certain voice within the community and someone else said something that really goes against that or starts a project that goes against it, then you can just grab one and it's meant to just represent people are getting mad about something, right? Okay, so that was my
I
turn.
like the feeling that was like 4 village elders coming into the square and
Yeah.
debating this in front of the youngins.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have this marked on the map?
Oh, you know what? Holding a discussion wouldn't normally be something. Wait. Oh,
Well,
every
no.
each
When the discussion
discussion
ends, mark the
is
situation with a
tied
small
to a
dot.
yeah. So each just tied to a situation on the map. Okay. Um, we haven't drawn anything yet for the life extension project, but I did tie in the trees as well. So I'll draw the dot by the trees. Okay. Okay. So I believe it would be your turn, Mark. And
I think so.
your card is the Two of Hearts.
Okay.
This is a brand new deck of cards, and it feels all nice and smooth.
This is another choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's a large body of water on the map. Where is it? What does it look like? Or there's a giant man-made structure on the map. Where is it? Why is it abandoned?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of already have the water, so I'm kind
Right,
of just
but it could be a
like,
new one, like maybe there's a big lake on the island, or you could just create some piece of the water around that's notable in some way, like a
yeah.
big barrier reef or an area of there's a super deep trench somewhere or something like that.
Hmm. I kind of like the giant man-made structure, though.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
gotta say.
sure. No, hey, I'm not arguing.
Uh, and I'm I personally seem to be well, I put the scar there kind of, but we've also got the
Mm-hmm.
cave at the bottom.
Yeah.
Um, I like the idea that there's a large university
Mm-hmm.
that is abandoned because it's overrun by thick shadows, thick nightmares.
Oh. So is that something that would be cleared out as the Shadow Stoppers project finishes? And so, like, it was perhaps that is why it had been abandoned, but maybe could be reclaimed now?
I think it could be a target for reclamation. I
Yeah.
don't think it's automatically going to be when that project finishes, though.
Well, isn't that project, wasn't the point of it, though, to root out all the places that the nightmares were hiding?
Although we kind of did say that they were continuing to come. They hadn't stopped them from coming in, just that they had gotten rid of the ones that were there.
Part of what, well, yeah, okay, so that's true. To my mind, what I was imagining is that we had rooted out all of the places that they were already here and collecting. It doesn't mean that they're never a problem again, but we have rooted out the places that are currently occupied by them. Was what I was thinking the project meant.
Okay.
But we can certainly discuss that.
I, I I mean, in the hopeful phase of this, yes, the university could be reclaimed, and
Okay,
that would be a
sure.
major symbol, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, so
Um,
it could also just be that this is something that it's been abandoned and claimed long enough that even if you did kill the nightmares, it's not ready for occupation. It would need to be restored.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So I will draw some sort of university down here.
Nice.
Let's go for that,
Okay.
and then
And I will advance our project clocks. The Shadow Stoppers completes. I won't delete the clock just because we might replace it with something. Okay. Ah, nice. I like that little university.
Let's see. So now, all of those have advanced, which does finish the search and destroy nightmares, actually.
Yeah, that's part of why I was thinking that.
Yeah. So that does something happen to the map to represent that first project?
Yes, it should. So like I drew the trees when we finished the magic trees. Now that we've finished the shadow stoppers, we should represent that in some way. Now it's Jenny's project, I think, right? Are you drawing up? Good. All right. So
Okay.
is that it? That's a shadow.
And I think because we haven't done it,
Hmm.
and because I am a disturber,
Yeah.
I want us to discover something new.
Okay. Sure. Absolutely.
And I want them to discover this actually is very fitting after the nightmares have been vanquished, is that there is somebody doing it. It isn't just a leakage. It isn't just a that. There's an
Oh,
intelligence
interesting.
behind that process. There is um, a villain, for lack of a better
Yeah.
phrase.
Okay. Um. Oops. That also I should spell tree farms correctly. I'm just creating a list for places that we can put our completed projects. Um, okay, so you want to discover that nightmares are being deliberately drawn into our world by someone, something.
Yeah, there's an intelligent force behind it. It isn't
Okay,
random, and it's being egged on.
okay,
So while we vanquish them for now, there's a threat that this could
right. Um,
achieve again.
well, so does this could tie in with the old man who, or do we think it ties in, or do we think that someone else has picked up that, like, if the old man believes that they started because of something he did at the pillar, is this tied to that or unrelated?
I think it might be ambiguous at this point. That's something I
Okay.
think we can resolve later.
No, I think that's great. So then what is it that is we discovered? What do we discover now, though? Like, so if we still don't know that, that's, I mean, that's fine, but what is it specifically that we did find out? Like, how did we discover that there's an intelligence force
I
behind
think in completing that project of putting away the shadows, they started to realize there are patterns.
it?
That it
Okay.
wasn't random. It wasn't that were there was deliberate things going on.
Mm-hmm.
There is a puppet master.
Okay. Was there evidence of rituals or something?
Could be. Yep.
Okay. All right. So that was a discover something new. So your turn, Jenny. You have the 5 of hearts.
Oh dear. There is a disquieting legend about this place. What is it? Or alarming weather patterns destroy something. How and what? I'm going to go. These are both so good, but I'm actually going to go with the alarming weather
Mm-hmm.
patterns. And they're very weird, magical eating storms,
Mm-hmm.
like we've seen, our characters have seen, where these strange things like fall from the sky.
Yeah.
And I actually would like it to destroy, like maybe there was a temple or something for the
Mm-hmm.
spirits.
I would encourage you to actually pick something on the map.
Oh, okay. Because when I was looking through these, I actually thought, oh, that'd be cool. I was thinking about destroying the lighthouse.
Sure. Yeah. You're getting thumbs
So,
up from Starla.
um,
I think that's great. It seems like the
I get to
obvious
take
one.
my first.
Right?
I get to take my first. What's it called? Contempt token then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, well, and the other piece too is the idea that like, is that Marushka or is that something else?
it could be Marishka, could be part of something else.
Yeah.
Even, I mean,
I mean,
who
Marushka
knows?
was
This
considered
could
a fickle spirit even when she was intact. When she
right.
was complete. Um, but yeah, so you should draw something to reflect the lighthouse has been destroyed by alarming weather. Is that like just storms or?
Yeah, it's like those weird magical storms.
Because we're not at a table where you would place the token by yourself, in front of you, Mark, maybe you can put it by the broken lighthouse to just
There's only
reflect.
the one token. Is that the
No, you
idea?
can make a copy of it. Is what I
I
was thinking.
don't think I can
Oh,
make
okay. Well,
copies of it. I was trying to.
I'll make a bunch then, and just put a bunch in one spot then. Just yeah, leave.
Here's some rubble.
What what is it doing?
Uh,
Uh, and then so there's a whole stack of them now in the corner. All right. So that is the prompt. We're going to advance our existing projects. So the automaton project is getting close to done. The life extension project is finished, which means that we need to draw something on the map to represent it.
There are some old people, or just people stretched out.
draw
Well,
walkers.
I was just thinking an old folks' home.
Shady Pines. Super shady, very piney,
Nope, I don't want that.
with magical trees.
In the shadow of the pines.
Such shade, very pine. What is happening? I swear. The Roll20's text tool. Oops. Okay. So we've got the so you read your prompt. We advanced the clocks. We're drawing the old folks home on there, but now you choose to discover something new, start a new project, or hold a discussion.
I want to hold a discussion.
Okay. So you can start either with a question or a statement. If you start with a question, then you finish with the last statement. If you start with a statement, then we all just do one statement and then it's done.
The question is, what happened with the lighthouse? Could this be that the spirits are angry?
Mm-hmm. All right. So Starlight, yeah, you would go first.
I think somebody. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was about to say we couldn't, but then I did. So.
Lost my train of thought. Okay. I think somebody did something to anger the spirits. Somebody used their powers for evil.
So I think I'm going to continue my trend of just playing the worst people. Is like, so what if she's angry? She's going to have to get over it and get used to it because we're not going to stop the progress we're making. You thinking, Mark?
Yeah, I think this is the start of the division between those who use the new powers and new science
Mm-hmm.
and those who go for the old ways that have
Yeah.
always been there and have been reliable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the lighthouse glowing brighter was a good, seen as a good omen, but now it's been destroyed. All right.
Yeah, the spirits are angry.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have chimed in because that's where we're supposed to follow the
That's
rules.
okay.
So the spirits are angry is your final
The
statement.
spirits are angry.
All right, Starla, your turn. Your card is the 4 of Hearts.
Okay. What important and basic tools does the community lack? Or where are you storing your food? Why is this a risky place to store things? Let's see. Important and basic tools, I think, is more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people are living longer, and we need more like just basic living structures, like houses. But again, we're an island, so there's only so much horizontal space.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really have good means of building things bigger yet.
Mm. Yeah.
So we lack the large scale tools needed to construct larger structures.
Yeah. So we will now, with this turn, complete the automaton project. So maybe that's an indication that oh, so now we've got all these nifty little automatons. What if we made nifty big automatons? Okay, that could be fun. So, in any case, that was the prompt. Do you want to try to draw something to reflect that?
A lack of tools or
Well,
the
to
automaton project finishing?
well, both. Technically, it should be both.
So I think
Meaning, one for each, not one for to
right.
represent both.
Well, I think first of all, I should probably make the city would be spreading out more.
Yeah, I mean, we can yeah, I think that's an excellent way to represent it. Is that we're getting sprawl because we don't have the capability right now to build more dense structures.
Right. So it was just like color in most of this peninsula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that.
All right. Okay, I think that's good.
You know what it actually reminds me of too is how Boston, if you look at maps from like the Revolutionary War period, there's a lot more hills and a lot more water, and the reason for that is because they literally geoscaped. They flattened the hills and put it into the water to make it more flat space. Yeah. So, I assumed you were going to go even bigger than that. Like when you said peninsula, I thought you meant like the whole peninsula.
Well, I don't want to cover up my old folks' home.
Well, I
I'll
mean,
fill
you
in
don't.
a little bit more here.
You can also have it just stay in the layer behind that, so it doesn't cover it up, or just do it around. But like do it the way you want to reflect it. but I want to encourage you to be willing to go big. And then we also want to draw something to reflect the automaton project completing. And then we need to either discover something new, start a new project, or
Well, I already know that what I want to discover.
Sure.
So I am going to discover. What color is that? A little island right about in here.
Mm-hmm.
I could change that. Nope, it's fine. Um, and on this island, there's a very because this is not a huge island,
Mm-hmm.
but in the center of it, there's like a ritual space, almost like it could have been like a shrine or an altar to Marushka, but it's been abandoned.
Oh, okay.
Like it's overgrown, so they almost missed it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So I'm gonna build me a little.
You could delegate drawing something for the automaton project if you want, but otherwise you can draw whatever you like for that as well.
Mark, I'm gonna delegate you to do it.
Sure.
All right. So you see, we got our map coming together, and we're building history. So see how this game works. All right, so I will go ahead and draw the next card up, and officially now we are out of spring and into summer. I have drawn the 10 of diamonds. 10 of diamonds, you discover a cache of supplies or resources, add a new abundance, or a scarcity has gone unaddressed for too long, start a project that will alleviate that scarcity. You know what? I'm going to jump into something we kind of just talked about, but I'm going to have it specifically address the whales scarcity. Well, the whales aren't coming back, so what we need are some big aquatic automatons. And they can also just go along with big automatons generally. So, big amphibious automatons is the new project. I feel like I want an acronym of some kind. Okay, let's see. Whale is water. Something water something automaton. Yeah. Water habitable automaton.
Water habitat automaton.
Well,
People could live inside it.
Yeah,
because...
well, water habitable. I'm thinking of just like they can be in it. Large expansion. The whale project. That one seems like it might be relatively big. It builds upon the automaton project, but also has unique challenges, and the water part of it I think adds to it. So I'm going to propose 5. Does that sound reasonable? Yeah? Okay, I'm getting lots of thumbs up, which is not going to work for the audio, or if I'm just not looking at the Zoom screen for the second. All right,
Sorry,
great.
I'm drawing
No, that's
things.
okay. No, that's fine. Okay, so that was for the card prompt, not for like a project step. We didn't have any existing clocks to advance. So I'm going to start another project, which is um, to reclaim the university. Restore. Um, how many steps do we think we need for that?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in that middle range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That works. Okay. So that is my turn. So, Mark, is everyone ready? Are we still drawing, or do we? You ready to move on?
Yep.
Yep.
I think I'm ready.
All right. 5. The 5 of
5
diamonds.
of diamonds. Okay. Either a project finishes early, asking the question what led to its early completion, or the weather is nice and people can feel the potential all around them. Start a new project. So what do we have? We have the whale project and the university store. That's the only projects we have at the moment.
Right.
So I think the weather is nice, and people can feel the potential around them. Let's see. I think because in my mind, I've been pushing for the idea that the island is difficult to cross, while the automatons help. I want to start a dirigible project.
Okay. Nice.
So they might eventually, in my mind, if we get enough projects, have a floating city. But actually, why don't you say floating city? Let's just jump right to the end.
All right.
And I'll make that a 6.
Yeah, I was going to say
project.
the floating city is probably. I like it being ambitious, but it is probably 6 step.
Yeah.
All right. Floating city.
And because starting projects is fun, let's start another project. Let's start. We know they come back.
I swear, sometimes the with Roll20, like if it's too near the top, the little contextual menu where copy would be scrolls off the top of the screen, and there's just no way to fix it without taking the token and moving it lower, so I can select copy. And it's a whole.
Yeah.
All right, new clock for new project. What one is this?
Right. Let's see. So we have still a livestock problem. They're going to build their own lighthouse
Oh,
using
okay.
the new science, replacing
Right.
that old one.
Nice.
A new lighthouse.
All right.
And in this one, I want to rely upon the abundance of gems, so it will be a glittering masterpiece
Nice.
when
Okay.
completed.
I feel like that's probably not necessarily too ambitious. So you could probably do that in 2, I'm thinking. Especially because we have the abundance for it. It makes sense to me.
That's kind of where I was leaning. Did
All right.
anybody else shake their head or otherwise?
Doesn't seem like it.
Nope.
All right. So we should probably try to keep things moving along unless we are content with the possibility of having this either need to finish sooner, or I just mean we're probably not going to run through all of our cards at this rate, but that's perfectly okay. So just, but at the same token, if we want to try to get through as many of the cards as we can, we should try to move things along a little more quickly. So, Jenny, your turn.
Mhm.
Your card is the Queen of Diamonds.
Ooh. Um, a project finishes early. Which one and why?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Um, I think the I think the whale project is going to finish early.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they had such success with the first automatons that they
Mm-hmm.
really got the hang of it,
Nice.
and they just started whipping out these giant whales.
Okay. So I'm going to draw something to represent that we've now got robo whales.
Robot whales.
Okay. Um, see, I need to not have it. The freehand with the fill-in color does weird things. It's like it's not obvious how that would work, but okay. So okay. So I'm drawing that. So that is the prompt.
And then I want to start another project in the spirit of automatons, and now I would like to create like sort of flying automatons.
Okay. Flying. All right. Do we think that that needs to be another 6 step? I mean, it seemed like we just made huge leaps with robo whales.
Yeah, I think maybe 3
Okay.
would be good.
Mm-hmm. And it fits with what we had established in previous discussion that you know that this is a thing. This is part of the Dinutherian
Mm-hmm.
technologies. These big constructs, big robots. All right. Cool. Okay. So, Starla, your card is the 3 of diamonds. Wait, did we?
Okay.
No. What we did, we
I
didn't
was going to say
reduce
we
the
didn't
other things.
advance
Yeah.
the
Let me
clocks.
let me
Yeah.
do that. So, I'll do that. You go ahead and read your card, Starla.
Summer is a time for production and tending to the earth. Start a project related to food production. Or summer is a time for conquest and the gathering of might. Start a project related to military readiness and conquest. I know Mark's all like, yeah, I'll do the military one, but
Oh,
I saw you.
but part of this game too is reflecting that there are contrary impulses within the community, right?
I'm actually going to go for the food production project.
Okay.
And I would like to, because we only have this one small area dedicated to food production, uh, in the interest of expanding upwards, I would like to research like tiered levels of like hydroponics and
Yeah.
things like that.
Cool. Hanging gardens.
Yeah, we'll call them hanging gardens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's. How many? How many ticks do we think we
Um,
need?
it's probably a 2 or a 3. I don't think
Yeah.
it's quite as ambitious as a flying floating city
Mm-hmm.
or flying automatons.
Here, I'll set it as 2, and this is. Do we want to call it hanging gardens or just vertical hydroponics even?
I mean, I'm all for hanging gardens, but vertical hydroponics is probably more
Hanging
accurate.
gardens, but magic.
Yes.
So where do I put my second contempt token?
By the farmland? I don't know.
Is it contempt because it's not military?
I kind of got called out there.
Um,
Okay.
let's
So
see.
your card prompt had you start a project, so you can still choose. And we advance everything else.
Yeah, I had a thought that like it just feels like we keep I mean it's not super common, but still we should probably do something in the way to make sure just like not everybody starts going up to the pillar and asking for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start a project to uh, build kind of, I guess you could call it a fort or some kind of
Oh, right.
wall, any kind
We
of.
did establish that in
Mm,
our other game that we had the perimeter around it, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So yes, establishing a perimeter and building up um,
Are we
guard
building a wall?
posts.
Mm-hmm. Pillar perimeter.
Yes, but this is to keep literally everyone out.
Right. Yeah.
There's my
Uh,
contempt
so,
token.
yeah. So the how that is an area that we've established as difficult to reach for a variety of reasons, and so I think that's probably challenging.
Hmm.
I
And
was
we're
gonna,
talking about building something around an entire mountain as well.
yeah. So
So
I'm thinking
yeah,
it's probably it's an intense one. So I'll go ahead
yeah.
and do 6. But we completed new lighthouse, so you can go ahead and draw your upgraded lighthouse, Mark.
All right. Going to be very pretty.
All right. Okay. My new card is the 8 of diamonds, which is someone tries to take control of the community by force. Do they succeed? Why do they do this? Or a headstrong community member decides to put one of their ideas in motion, start a foolish project. Gosh, I'm tempted by that one, but we do also have a lot of projects already. You know what? No, I think someone's going to try to take control of the community by force. I think that for a long time, especially since some time has passed now, that for a long time, Tilitha, by virtue of bringing this magic and just being the very proactive, voice in this community, was maybe not the leader, but certainly kind of, you know, considered one of the leaders, if anything. But I think that some of these voices that say, look, all of this stuff about trying to placate and appease the spirits is like, no, we need to just, tell them we're in charge now. And the more we do that, the more their power will be diminished anyway. So they might struggle against it, but the more we just move against them instead of trying to maintain a balance will diminish their power. And that's so the voices of that position are going to try to take command of the community by force. I think I think they succeed. They don't. I think they manage to not actually kill anyone, but they do absolutely, you know, use, the intimidation and the threat of violence against the people who are opposing them, and they um, overturn the existing community structure in favor of their own new rules and approach. So we going to advance all of our clocks. Um, Now, note also, all the things that I just said does not change anything about how all the rest of the rules work. Like, they don't literally control every single person. It's more just a matter of, like, you know, who's in charge and all of that sort of thing. So, Restore the University finishes. And then I think I will hold a discussion to kind of represent this change in government of just saying, start with a statement of uh, the time of the spirits being placated and appeased is over. They can get with the new program or they can be forced out. So everyone just else makes a statement.
I think one of the reasons this succeeds is it resonates with most people now that they have power.
Or a lot of
And
people anyway, right? Like,
well, a
because
lot of people.
I
But
think,
technology has made things better.
yeah. So I think the four of us with our four statements are going to sort of represent the factions of belief in the community, right? So what about you, Jenny? A lot of
Oh,
not
yeah.
sure.
I'm not sure.
I mean, that's okay. I think it is entirely fair to give a voice to the people who are opposed to this. Or, for that matter, if we decide that the four of us all kind of give statements in support of it, then that could just be reflective of most of the people there do feel that way.
I think I would do it like on the opposite side, like that
Yeah,
small number of people who are like,
yeah,
no, this isn't right.
absolutely. That's very cool. That's totally cool. So, was that it, or did you want to say it more like? I mean, that's fine.
No,
I'm
that's
just
it.
okay.
That's good.
All right.
I will be part of the faction that just smiles and nods while quietly disapproving, but also don't want to die. So,
Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't know about all this, but also, I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, yeah, great. So that is the end of my turn. I got a new card for Mark, which is the Six of Diamonds.
We should put something by the university that indicates there was
Oh, yeah,
plans to.
yeah,
give it a little flag.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great one.
yeah.
Six of Diamonds. Either
Mm-hmm.
outsiders arrive in the area. Why are they a threat? How are they vulnerable? Or outsiders arrive in the area. How many and how are they greeted?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna bang some drums of war. Um, I think that the first one, um, outsiders arrive at the area. Why are they a threat? Um, they are traditionalists who believe in the spirits
Mm-hmm.
and are trying to proselytize and have their magics.
Mm-hmm.
How are they vulnerable? Hmm. They don't know how to deal with this new science.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we can complete Hanging Gardens, but magic, and Flying Automatons. Both will complete this turn. So we need to draw something to reflect those.
Okay, running out of projects, so I feel like I'm going to start a project.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's probably going to be a short project.
Mhm.
Weaponizing the automatons.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that may be as low as a 2.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we could imagine that a 2 would represent the initial stages of that, of making them a little bit more armored, a little bit more, weaponized. But then if we wanted more advanced weapons, that might be another project.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Um,
Did we get a flag on the university?
I thought you were going to do that, but I
I was in the middle of my turn. I
no,
can do it
that's all
now.
right. Okay. Um, but yeah, so no one else did it because I thought you were gonna. That's all.
No worries. I can do that now.
Great.
I'm trying to take notes too, so I have copious notes of this whole
Aha.
thing. It's crazy.
Well, part of the reason that I don't always necessarily take notes while we're running is that I have the recording to re-listen to afterwards. So, but however you want to do it, no worries. But I'm having fun with this for sure. Um, Giving me a lot of help world building, Dinuther stuff. All right, cool. So,
Flag is raised.
yep. All right, so that is completion of your turn, Jenny. 9 of diamonds.
Okay. A project fails. Which
Uh-oh.
one and why? Or something goes afoul and supplies are ruined. Add a new scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I think the floating city project is going to fail.
Oh.
Where's my grief tokens or whatever the hell it's called? Come on, contempt tokens. I knew that was happening though.
I'm sorry.
No. It's yeah. I mean, that's
I think it fails because there are people who actually sabotage it, people who
okay.
think that this is going too far.
Right.
And maybe it's all because of a shadow puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still,
Okay.
where's my contempt
That's
token?
why. Yeah, do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Oh, that's
provoking
fun.
all of
Yeah.
your ire today.
Okay. Cool. So we advance the clocks.
Yep. And then
I mean, and you could start a new project that represents, these efforts to kind of combat some of that new stuff, like, to restore shrines or something like that,
yeah,
or
that's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
I want to build a new shrine
Okay.
to the
Can we
spirits.
can we call it the Get Off My Lawn project?
Yeah.
The Gommel. Since they do like, since we've established they do like their acronyms, it's the Gommel project.
Yeah.
The Gommel.
All right. Sure. Let's see. All right. And that probably doesn't take too many. Um, do we want to say?
Probably 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay. Starla. Ace of diamonds.
Okay. A contingent within the community demand to be heard. Who are they? What are they asking for? Or a contingent within the community have acted on their frustrations. What have they damaged and why did they damage it? Is it permanent? I'm laughing because
where are
I'm
the
like,
contempt tokens?
Like already knows.
I have roles within
Immediately
this game.
thinking
So I don't
of
know
that-
why,
of
but I
that
do.
lighthouse.
Well, so here's the thing is that this obviously could tie very well into the idea that we're We've got some competing projects. We've got sabotage to the floating city. This should represent a new event, but it could certainly very well be tied into all that.
I got it. So we're getting all these new automatons, right? And they're becoming more and more advanced, and they're maybe looking more and more like actual living things. So I think there is a PETA contingent for the people for the ethical treatment of automatons.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
So what
I
are what
love
are
you
they
so
asking
much.
for? Is that the rudimentary artificial or the rudimentary magical intelligences in these new automatons are increasingly advanced enough that they deserve rights? Is that part of what they're saying? Maybe
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
that certainly ties into our Bartholomew game.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
fun. Okay, so we are going to complete the weaponize the automatons. Um,
Yeah, it's like now they're making them fight our battles for us. Like that's not right.
um, I'm going to draw a little cannon on the back of the whale.
If
All
I
right.
wasn't using a mouse, I would give my little flying automaton a gun, but
You want me to give it a shot?
I
I
can
was,
do it.
so my first thought was literally to draw like a little pistol in its wing.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let me. Okay, so my turn. Oh, we're into autumn now. Queen of clubs. The Queen of Clubs. Disease spreads through the community. Choose one. You spend the week quarantining and treating the disease. Project dice are not reduced this week. Or nobody knows what to do about it. Add health and fertility as a scarcity. Oh man, I mean, for our game here, I feel like it's got to be that last one, right? I think that a lot of the people in charge here are not going to tolerate the projects not being advanced. Um, and the idea that natural health and fertility being seen as expendable, and perhaps we need, we just need to look elsewhere for how to replace those sorts of concerns. Um, okay, okay. So let's see what to draw to represent that. Um,
Man, the further along we go in this, the more I'm on board with Rubino's idea of just like blasting them into
mm?
Yeah, see?
Well,
smothering
but
Let's
them.
let him
but
out.
this is also why we want to. It's fun to represent the people here who are opposed to it, right? Because that's what your whole current plan is about, is the pocket protectors, right? Is that there are people in there who are trapped right in along with the bad ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna um hmm. I suppose I could just draw. You know what? Um I'm gonna draw a little virus, like a little here. Whoops.
Oh, maybe this is the thing that like people that survive it like come away with that changeling ability,
Oh
the
yeah,
magical plague.
Well, that could be an interesting project.
yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. Um
Now to come up with an acronym for changeling.
yeah. Here what yeah, what I'm gonna draw is a little gray skinned person.
Changeable health and an adaptable natural growth, extending life in negative.
Growth.
All right.
Negative
Well,
growth.
so that little gray-skinned person represents the people who are changed by this disease, and there is an element of not merely their health, but their fertility. Um, and I don't think that that represents. It's not that they are being changed into changelings like Lynn is, but we can imagine that this is maybe an early stage in something that's happening related to that. Nobody knows why some people start changing like that.
Evolutionary response.
Mm-hmm.
Or the magic's being
Yeah.
used against them.
Okay,
Spirits
so
turning their backs.
we also are going to complete Get Off My Lawn project. And Pillar Perimeter is getting close. So, Get Off My Lawn project victory for the.
Building temples.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to draw something for that?
Yeah, I'll draw a temple maybe. How
Alright.
do you erase on here?
You
Use
can
the
select it and
arrow to
delete.
select something and then hit delete.
Okay.
Oh yeah. How long was that build the perimeter project?
It was 6 to start off with,
Okay.
but we've been kind of trucking along through the turns the last few rounds. Mark, you have the 7 of clubs.
You have to choose a project
Oh, right.
to discussion or
Right. Okay. I'm going to discover something new that I think that the university sends a team into that cave, and they discover what they believe to be ruins of a Titan city, or perhaps it is ruins of. They don't know about Titans necessarily, but it is giant in scale. So the ruins they find seem as though they would have been used by people who were, 25, 30 feet tall. And that is below that cave. So I'm going to draw a little statue.
big bone.
Well, I was thinking they found like stone ruins, not so much remains, but
Okay.
and so that little statue is going to represent that there were giant scale remains of some kind of a, civilization that were underground or hidden somehow. What are those blue rectangles?
I'm trying to delete things.
Oh, okay.
I made a mess.
Let me know if I can help. But all right. So Mark, your card is the 7 of clubs.
7 of clubs. A project just isn't working out as expected. Radically change the nature of this project, but don't modify the project die. When it resolves, you'll be responsible for telling the community how it went. Or something goes foul and supplies are ruined. Add a new scarcity.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the pillar
Oh.
perimeter is the only project currently. And although we can, although we had established that there is a perimeter later, we could still say that we could change something about the nature of it here, right? Something about it that's unexpected. If you wanted to go with that option.
It is radically changing it, so it would have to be something.
Or
maybe a
well,
death phase.
I think what if part of what we had established about it before could have been something that wasn't anticipated, which is this idea that like the only people you can have stationed there need to be kind of rendered sort of egoless, so that they
Hmm.
won't themselves be, influence the pillar's magic.
Is it a wall around the pillar?
Well, it is not around the just it is not close to the pillar, but it is
Okay.
designed to prevent access to the pillar.
Hmm.
I mean, it could even just be so what we can do is we can say that the intention. I mean, this is if you want to choose that option instead of the other
Right.
one, right? Um, but what I'm saying is that like there are some things that we established about it in our other game, which is that there is a kind of perimeter, but we can decide what is true about it that wouldn't have been part of the original plan, right?
Hmm. Oh, it's tempting. I'm actually thinking of the perimeter
Mm-hmm.
was designed to keep people out.
Mm-hmm.
What if it becomes a way to keep people in?
Say more.
So it was meant as a defensive mechanism, but because so much turmoil is rising and these outsiders are coming in,
Mm-hmm.
it's as much about controlling their own population as it is about defending it from outside.
Um,
Or,
yeah, I'm
and
not
this
sure I
isn't,
follow that part, but go ahead.
yeah, well, it's experimental as everything is
Mm-hmm.
here.
Sure.
Or there is one supply that I can ruin, and that is the abundance of magic. What if it
Mm.
becomes unreliable?
Oh,
Leading
yeah.
to needing all those other projects and
Yeah,
needing all
well,
those other
and for
things to.
that matter, the idea of the prices start to come due, right?
Yeah,
That's part of what we had established, right? Is that like the need, how they can approach it starts to be different when it starts like, gosh, we're starting to have these large expenditures, and it's increasingly difficult to sort of keep those paid for, magically speaking.
yeah. I think that's what I'm going to turn that into a scarcity.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun how even though we're kind of allowing this to be like as it goes and prompted by the cards, that it still kind of gives us these opportunities to head in the direction that we're expecting it to go. Cool, cool. Okay, so that's the prompt. Um,
Right.
you could probably just draw lines through the little purple waves around the pillar were meant to represent the magical
Yeah,
abundance.
I was thinking like lightning,
Yeah,
white or yellow or something
sure.
through them.
Mm-hmm.
As for the other, I haven't started a discussion, so I feel like I should do that at least once.
Okay. We're also going to complete the pillar perimeter this turn.
Okay,
So we do that before you start the discussion.
fair enough.
Was that yours, Starla?
Yes.
All right. You want to draw a little wall around the pillar?
Sure.
Cool. So you're starting a discussion, Mark?
I think so. I just got to figure out what the discussion is about.
Okay.
I think. Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, you just
That didn't
introduced
really
that we have a
happen.
new scarcity in the magic. It feels like that's something that would need to be discussed.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been urging that we also consider the downfall that's coming. Some
Mm-hmm.
of this is already established here. But is this the turn from the orderly science to relying upon nightmare magic?
I feel like we don't necessarily have to have it be quite like the flipping of a switch, right? Because even if we want to say this discovery that you can kind of impose the price on someone else instead of paying it yourself, like maybe initially that could be like those people are compensated in other ways. right? Like it's more transactional at first, but voluntary. That could be a way. But I mean, again, that starts to be more than what the discussion format should be, right? So you start with the question and or the statement. But the thing is, I would say we should not be afraid to let the story go where we know it's going. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we can find out together if this is the time. Now, that said, we still have parts of the community that are opposed to this, but I think that we shouldn't worry about moving too fast if that's the concern.
No, it wasn't the concern at all.
Okay,
It's
well, I
really,
guess I was
it's
just
really, do we want to start turning in that direction?
I feel
Or
like we had kind of been moving in that direction already, but so
it's a discussion. I'm open to hearing what others
well,
have to
okay,
say.
so
Well, could you rephrase
okay.
phrase
I
the
thought you were
question?
asking us in the meta, not starting a discussion.
No, I
It-
was trying to start a discussion. That was
Okay, so please restate then either the statement or the question that is starting the discussion. I thought you were prior to doing that, you were asking us a question in the meta. So
no. Sorry for the confusion.
I see.
Let me see if I can restate it. Is this the beginning of the desperate use of nightmare magic?
I don't think it is. I mean, we can still do things without magic.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't I think we're starting to edge toward desperation here.
We have the means to solve our problem here. Are we talking instead about giving up all that we've gained? I say no.
Yep.
And so, because you phrased it as a question, you have one statement to finish, Mark.
I think we will conquer all, including the nightmare magic. So the situation is the magical. The situation it's started on is the Titans thing, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Maybe we need to figure out how to make it consistent, work for us again. Anyway, sorry, I'm going beyond the framework of the discussion. It's not supposed to end in a result, but okay, great. Jenny, 6 of clubs.
Okay, the time has come to consolidate your efforts and your borders.
Are you on the right
located-
page? 6 of clubs.
Oh, I was on spades. Yep. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Introduce a dark mystery among the members of the community, or conflicts flare up among community members, and as a result, a project fails.
We actually don't have any projects going at the moment.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go
it can't
with
be one of mine.
the dark mystery.
Mm.
I would like to introduce a cult of people, because it's a cult, who actually worship the shadow beings
Oh.
and are trying to bring them back because they believe that their absence is what has led to all of this strange new magic that just doesn't feel right.
They called the Friends of Tanglefoot.
Yes.
We do have a mysterious figure. Maybe it was Tanglefoot that was there.
So let's draw something to represent this cult. We don't have any projects to advance.
Oh.
And then so we could start a new one, discover something new, or have a discussion.
I'm trying to think of a new project we could start. It's got to be something awful.
Well, we've got
There were things like the deadening of emotions. There was the merging with the automatons from the other stories we played out.
I had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I actually would like to, because of that whole thing about like fertility
Mm-hmm.
and disease and stuff like that. I actually want them to start making automatons to be like personal companions
Okay.
for people, like options. Since
Mm-hmm.
fertility is an issue, it's causing like
Okay.
emotional rifts between people.
Okay. So specifically, automatons with emotions. How about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Companion automatons.
Okay.
Emotional companion. This is Tanglefoot that I'm drawing here. And it does not look like anything.
Do you
Every
have an
drawing
acronym
is
for
good
this
enough.
project?
That's what the book said.
What'd you say,
Okay.
Mark?
Do you have an acronym for this project?
Love bots.
Love box. That's not an acronym, but I like it anyway.
I could probably come up with
Nah,
one.
it's fine. Love bots. Okay. How many ticks do we think that needs?
Probably 4 or 5 because
You think
it's
so?
like a
Hmm.
try. Well, I mean, they're
Yeah.
trying to like
We.
master the emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote for because I feel like
Okay.
they've got the physical stuff and it's just a matter of like we had already established that we had organizations that already thought that they were deserving of rights, right? So like this is just like
Mm-hmm.
going even further in that direction. All right, so cool. That makes it your turn, Starla. You've got the
Hit me.
5 of clubs. I'll hit you with
The
the club.
parish arrives. Who are they? Why have they chosen your community and for what? Or a small gang of marauders is making its way through local terrain. How many are there? What weapons do they carry? I'm going to go with that second one
Yeah.
because these are people that have bonded with automatons, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it starts off as maybe just like a dozen,
Mm-hmm.
but as they proceed through the countryside, they increase in numbers.
Well, and this could be a perfect illustration of why in our Hounds game it is prohibited to let the pilot and the their vehicle become too bonded because otherwise they kind of go rogue. All right, cool. That's fun. So we need to draw something to reflect that. We advance love bots. Um, and then we've also got you gotta discover something new, new project or discussion.
Um, I think I would like to start a research project to investigate this whole changeling type thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
these people look different.
Right.
What has happened to them? What has changed in them
Mm-hmm.
to alter their appearance?
Right.
And yeah, why did the disease affect them that way, whereas it killed other people?
Right. Study the disease
Hmm.
or harness the disease.
Either works.
Do you have a preference? It's your project.
Hmm.
Think about what you want to be true when the project completes. Could it be cure the disease?
But they may find in researching the project
Mm-hmm.
that harnessing these changes is a better
Well, so I guess what I'm saying is right now
solution.
you get to decide when the
Mhm.
project is finished. What does that mean? You get to choose that.
Okay. When the project is finished, they will have learned the full scope
Mm-hmm.
of what has happened to these people
Uh-huh.
and probably figure out how to take advantage of that.
Okay.
So,
Um,
harnessing, I
all right.
suppose.
Harness the disease. Okay. Then how many ticks do we want to give that?
Mm,
3, 4?
3?
Yeah. 3?
That sound good?
Yep.
3?
I mean, I'm thinking this is actually pretty hard
Hmm.
because it's going to be removing a scarcity too.
That's true. Do we want to make it 4? 5?
Yeah. Yeah, 4. I think it's a good compromise.
Okay. All right. So that makes it my turn. I've got the 9 of clubs, which is the community works constantly, and as a result, a project finishes early, or a group goes out to explore the map more thoroughly and finds something that had been previously overlooked. Um, I'm going to say Lovebots finishes early, and it was something that was being worked on, but the breakthrough happens in a way that feels almost accidental, or like it's possible, like something like they don't understand really what flipped the switch ultimately between it wasn't working, and then all of a sudden it was. But it's a little bit of a black box as to why what we did made it start working. We can replicate it, but we don't 100% understand why it works. Suggesting that there might be some unknown element involved. Okay. So, whose was Lovebots? What do you want to?
Fine.
Want to just draw a little heart by one of these robots?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the prompt. We'll also advance harness the disease. And then I will start a new project that is uh, magic means of magical debt transfer. um, so what's is there a more elegant way to say that? Just
Debt brokerage.
yeah, magical debt brokerage. Um, so this essentially is the people who use the most magic saying, well, we can't really tolerate this condition where we don't have all the magic we need. So how do we figure out how to get it from other people? Maybe whether they're cooperative or not.
So, psychical allowance interpersonal delivery.
Mm.
Project paid.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Paid. Psychic.
Psychical allowance interpersonal delivery.
The all right. Psychical. I think probably psychic would be okay, but I'll leave it as psychical because it's kind of fun to
fancy
say.
and pretentious enough. You have to have it for these people.
Yeah. All right, great. So let's. I think that is. I'm gonna say 4 because I think it's along the lines of the magic that we've used already, and it's more a matter of. I think that we could say in fiction, this is an advance that could have been made a long time ago, but it's obviously ethically shaky and until people started being more desperate. it wasn't. They figured they wouldn't be able to get away with it. But now that they can say, well, we got to solve these problems, right? You're not going to give up your new love bot, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um. So that makes it your turn, Mark, and you've got the king of clubs.
Right. A natural disaster strikes the area. Choose one. You focus on getting everyone to safety. Remove an abundance and a project fails. Or you focus on protecting your supplies and hard work at any cost. Several people die as a result.
Mm.
Oh. Okay. Gotta look at the map for this one because there's a lot of stuff on this map.
Mm-hmm.
What is the giant blue pillar with the oval?
Oh, that's the shrines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Like
Sure.
the people that were coming back in and trying to
Mm-hmm.
reestablish spiritual connection.
We also have the shrine over that was not restored on the little island, right? I mean, just in terms of shrines, right? Or
Have a
was that?
Starless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the little obelisk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other shrine. Yeah. Okay. So I think that there is a tremendous amount of pressure coming from the people on the top.
Mm-hmm.
They want these projects to succeed. They want their supplies to continue on. They're already researching how they can pass the debt on to
Mm-hmm.
lesser people. So I
Yeah.
think the natural disaster,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is an expansion of the scar. Long thought dormant,
Yeah.
unfertile land, blackened by the nightmare passage, but
Mm-hmm.
considered to be nothing at all. And like a geyser, it goes off.
Ooh.
And work continues. People are forced through the area.
So, like, maybe people are forced to work in the area. So,
It's also a
it,
source of the power, too.
well, yeah. What I was just going to say is, like, what if it was like spewing a. The thought that I had, this is yours, so I don't want to like take it, but the thought that I had was, what if it was like spewing over our gardens, and we forced the workers to to work through that sort of cloud in order to cover and protect the gardens, and they did, but they were harmed themselves as a result. So that was my idea. This is your prompt.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go so far as to damage that particular supplies, but
Well, no, it wouldn't be supply. It wouldn't be damaged
or
because we
to
had the
threaten
people work it
to-
instead.
to
Okay,
threaten
yeah,
it.
but yeah, entirely up to you.
But I think that's right in the route from the northeast to the southwest. So there's a travel route right through the scar. And if they're forced to continue traveling through the scar, since they couldn't get the floating city working, they'd have to do it all by land.
Okay.
I will take my revenge where I can find it.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it cuts travel into dangerous area.
Okay. So I have advanced the paid and harnessed the disease clocks.
Okay. Feel like we needed more projects.
Well, we have two, but we could certainly do more.
Let's see. That one's that one. That's that. Another way I'll get my revenge.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that they're going to revisit the flying cities as
Okay.
flying boats.
Flying boats.
Yeah. Because that's more
Yeah.
practical.
Flying boats. Yeah.
Boats.
All right. So maybe just 3 on that? More to
Yeah.
reflect
I
being
think
more
at this
practical
technological
and
stage.
yeah, okay. Cool.
I'll see if I can work out an acronym for boats.
All right. Well, let me know and I'll update the label. Okay.
First, the scar.
Next, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Ace, the ace of clubs.
The community becomes obsessed with a single project. Which one? Why? And then you choose. They decide to take more time to ensure that it is perfect. Add 3 weeks to the project die. They drop everything else to work on it, and all other projects fail.
Where's my die? Where's my
And then, if there
complaint
are
die?
no projects underway, we would add a scarcity born of idleness, but that's not the case here.
I think that they're going to take more time to focus on the flying boats, because they were so distraught about the not being able to make the city fly that they're really determined to get this done.
Okay. Well, so wait. So they're focusing on it to the exclusion all other projects fail, or you're adding time to that one?
I'm adding time to that one.
Okay. All right. So that's what I thought. Just
Yep.
wanted to make sure I got it. Okay. So we advance we advance all three, but we added three, so we still advance that one. It's just still three above where it would have been.
And I think because they finally figured out how to make things like that fly, that they are actually going to start a project to make the mountains fly, so that it's harder for people to get to the tower.
Okay. Flying mountains. That seems like a big ask.
Yeah, like 6.
Yeah. All right. Flying mountains, 6. Okay. Starla, your card is the 8 of clubs.
Okay, let's see. Someone sabotages a project and the project fails as a result. Who did this and why? Or someone is caught trying to sabotage the efforts of the community. How does the community respond? Let's see. What do we have for projects? I'm gonna say they sabotage the flying mountains.
Okay.
Sorry, Jenny.
It's okay.
And I think it was someone in a position of power who thought that that is a complete waste and it's not going to happen.
So
it was more of a spiteful sabotage than like they actually gave a crap about anybody.
got a new chairman of the board, and he wants to just scrap all of his predecessors' projects.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
I could just, he's like, we just decided to focus entirely on the flying boats, and now you want to build flying mountains? It's going to take just as long.
Besides, if we have the flying boats, then what does the flying mountain even get us? You just fly a boat up there. All right. Cool. Okay. So, and now we're
Whatever
gonna
flies your mountain.
advance the other clocks. We're gonna complete harness the disease. So what does that look like? And then we need to discover something new project or discussion.
So would they have at this stage discovered, like, are we there yet that they discover that they can change their appearance at will?
Well, I mean, I think that is a perfectly valid way to resolve that. Is
Okay.
that, like, now that they have control over it, the way that this disease was causing people's appearance to change, you discover that that can actually be adapted and controlled.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Cool. And
And
sounds very destabilizing for society.
oh yeah. um, let's see. Kind of want to discover something new,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm out of ideas.
I just look for an empty spot on the map and put something there.
Hmm. How about in this scarred wasteland area, just because it's so dangerous and hasn't been, very well
Mm-hmm.
documented, mapped out, that they find a bottomless pit. Like, it's not huge,
Mm-hmm.
but it's large enough that you can see it kind of from a distance and you can't tell how far it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just keeps on going.
Right. Cool. Okay. So we need to draw something to reflect the harnessed disease and then also the bottomless pit. Ah, I have drawn the Jack of Spades, which means we are now in winter. This also means that the game could end at any time as soon as the King of Spades is drawn, and I don't know, that should be random. So, but the Jack of Spades, an infected outsider arrives seeking amnesty. They have some much needed resources with them. Choose one, welcome them into the community, and remove a scarcity, but also introduce an infection into the community, or bar them from entry. What scarcity could they have addressed? How does its need become more dire this week? Oh gosh, what are our current scarcities, right? We never really solved livestock. We kind of replaced them, right? Um, but then infection, I don't know. I don't. I'm gonna I'm gonna choose to interpret that broadly, and instead of it being like another disease, because we kind of just dealt with a disease, I'm gonna say it's
What about Tanglefoot?
yeah. No, that's a great idea. No, I love that actually. Is that this is, we had established that we had this sort of cult, right? But now perhaps they have started to infiltrate in a new way. They show up with resources and offer to help, but they start kind of converting people um, through their own biological means. No, that's great. That's a good idea. I think that is what happens. So what scarcities do we have? We had the livestock. What were there are other scarcities left
The
over?
Magic
whales.
and health and fertility. The
Well, we kind of
whales,
solved that the health and fertility
Yeah.
with the
we have
harnessing the
another approach,
disease.
yeah.
Hmm.
The living whales is there. Also,
Yeah.
the magic itself, if
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
represented.
Okay. How about this? I'm going to combine a couple of things because this turn we're also going to solve the psychical allowance interpersonal delivery. Um, I think that there's a discovery of how to do that, but then there is also a the the these new strange folks have shown up with a way they say they can you know use that new the paid thing in a way that nobody had even ever suggested, and that they would provide people who would volunteer. And that is going to ostensibly, eliminate the scarcity of I've got a little dog who is ready to go outside. I think we're maybe need to almost be done here. Um, we're also running a little late. So here's a question. Um, I want how about this? Let's do one more round. Okay. So I think what has happened is that these individuals that we understand perhaps to be connected to Tanglefoot in some way have basically just said, told them, look, this new thing that you just developed, if you use it like this, you have as much magic as you want, and all it takes is for you to not care what happens to the people you're drawing on. Oh, okay. No, I take it back. It's not even that because they were already planning to do that. What they bring with them is the idea of, gosh, if you keep it limited to the people on the island, not only are you doing it to your own people, but maybe what you need to start thinking about is taking the show on the road. The way to resolve that scarcity is to start taking it from outside. And so the infection in this case is literal in the starting to convert people, but also in the start sowing the seeds for a desire to conquest and not simply develop. So I think that represents the prompt, and we completed the paid, which is okay. This is a bizarre way to represent it, perhaps, but this
Build a
is
bank.
what.
You can build a bank.
What I was actually just going to do is related. I was going to draw a little dollar sign by these magic scarcity lightning bolts. Okay, so that is the completion of that project. I think we have to advance. I didn't advance the flying boats yet. And is everyone okay with, like, I'm taking my turn now, and then each of you get one more turn, and then we just call that finished, even if we're not at. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that means that we are now in escalation territory. So now what we've got is the new project is, the new project is a 6-step take over the world. Yeah. Because if we're gonna get close to wrap up, let's go big. Okay, so Mark, it's your turn. 5 of spades is the card.
Okay. Five of spades. Winter elements destroy a food source. If this was your only food source, add a scarcity. Or winter elements leave everyone cold, tired, and miserable. Project dice are not reduced this week. What do we even have for food sources?
Well, I mean, we have. We don't need to take something that's currently abundant. We can take
Right.
something that hasn't been an issue and make it scarce, right? Like food is a perfectly acceptable one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there will be a scarcity of food. And instead of a winter storm, I kind of want to keep it as the scars influence.
Yeah, no, I like that. It feels symptomatic of the growing corruption, right?
Farms food.
Okay. Reduce flying boats and take over the world.
Okay. So we already had essentially Tillitha go to the mountain. That was a kind of an earlier established off-screen type thing.
Well, yeah, that was like the beginning, really,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Because it was her, that was what allowed them to start conquering the nightmares in the first place.
Okay. I think then let's go for that next step project.
Oh, so
Um,
recall though, we can remember that she did go a second time, and that is
right.
what ultimately her and her companions went, and that's what resulted in the bubble.
So I think that's the project I want to start.
My only hesitation there is we want it to, yeah. So we can do that. Never mind. My only hesitation was just going to be, um, I was imagining that that would be. We don't want it to necessarily be something that would be affected by others if we're starting to run into canon. But you know what? It's a perfectly acceptable project to do. No question about it.
Yeah. Well, technically, it should come before take over the world, right?
Well, but it should. We would expect it to complete before take over the world because I'm
Right.
anticipating that by virtue of setting it a 6 step clock when we're only going to have 3 more turns, I was expecting that they would not get there
Oh, I see. Okay.
before they get sealed away.
All right. Hmm.
So you could do like if you wanted, if there's going to be 2 more turns with Jenny and Starla, that would mean that they would succeed at a 2 step clock.
Right. Right.
I mean,
Um,
I think that's a perfect way to go. That feels right. It would just be that we're kind of agreed that if Jenny or Starla get a card that would say a project fails, that we would not make that one fail.
okay. Yeah. So Tillitha returns to the mountain.
Okay.
And we'll call that a 3 step or a 2 step.
Does she? Do they do that on the mountain? I thought they like went outside of the island
Well,
and
no,
did that.
it's the pillar, right? They had to go back to the pillar because only the pillar would be powerful enough to do all that, and so they ended up outside. So they used the pillar's magic to create the bubble. Is that not how you all remember it?
See, I thought they did it at the temple to Marushka, and that's why she was still sitting on the throne.
Oh well, so they they built that as a place to maintain it.
Okay.
Um, um, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's see. I'm looking up my notes to just make sure I'm not somehow doing this. Um, okay. Um,
Well, we can make
right.
it the
Okay.
bubble
Yeah.
project.
So the what the notes were is, and so Talitha came to believe that it was this initial tiny grain of selfishness that she had that had made the original wish go wrong, and so it was she that her closest allies and their families decided that this nightmare must be confronted, contained, in the price paid for all. Together, they used the power of the pillar to seal away Dinuther in its entirety. And they then did, and that's what severed Marishka from much of her domain and power. But then, in order to maintain it, they had to build the temple outside and preserve it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, in any case, 2 step clock for Talitha returns to the mountain. Okay. Okay. So, Jenny, your card is the 9 of spades.
Okay. Someone goes missing. They're alone in the winter elements. Choose one. The community organizes constant search parties, and eventually the person is found. Then the project doesn't
Mm-hmm.
get reduced, or no one ever hears from that person again.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go with no one ever hears from that person
Yeah.
again.
So, who is this person? Do we just like? I think we should imagine someone that it's meaningful that happens, right?
Yeah, I think it would be like one of the elders.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just disappears,
Mm-hmm.
and no one knows what happened, if they got murdered or if they went somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because obviously somebody got outside
Hmm.
before the bubble went up. You know, some people must have.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're intending that Dinuther is like the origin of all people or anything
No,
like
but
that.
I mean, I meant like, some people might have gotten out
Oh no. Okay.
before.
Yeah, it's
That's
possible.
what I
Sure.
meant.
Yeah. So we could imagine that someone has gone missing. I I feel like we need a name. We need some details for this person. Um, this was one of the town elders? Were they on this? Were they like the last substantial voice that opposed this conquest thing? And so the
Yeah,
idea
I
that
think
they just
so.
suddenly went missing was
Yeah, mysteriously
yeah.
disappeared.
So what was this person's name? Were they you know uh, name
Uh,
and pronouns?
um, they, them,
Sure.
and the person's name was Villanarth.
Villanarth. All right. Villanarth goes missing at a time when their voice was more needed than ever. Okay, so we're advancing flying boats. They're gonna get flying boats just in time to not be able to use them to conquer the world. Advancing Tilitha returns to the mountain. Advancing take over the world. What's are you doing? Discover something new, new project, or
Um,
discussion.
I want to do a discussion
Mm-hmm.
where I just make the statement. Um, Imagine if we could spread this to the entire world,
Mm-hmm.
how that will make us even more amazing than we already are.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's me
Yeah.
first, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, she started with a statement, so you're
Mhm.
having a statement as well.
I don't agree with our plan. I think it's detrimental to everyone involved.
Uh, I think it's not going to be detrimental to the people in this room, and that's what I'm most concerned about. Final word on the subject, Mark?
Just as we've conquered all the rest, we will conquer everything else too.
Okay. My little dog is a very sad boy because I'm taking too long to finish, which is why I'm kind of trying to get us to wrap up. So, Starla, you get the 2 of diamonds as the last card that we'll draw.
Okay. A headstrong community member takes charge of the community's work efforts. A project fails and then a different project finishes early. Or a headstrong community member tries to take control of the community. How are they prevented from doing this? Due to the conflict, project dice are not reduced this week. So I'm gonna go with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Project fails and then a different project finishes early.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, we could argue that Tilitha going back to the mountain is a headstrong community member taking charge.
yep.
You want to just say that's what it is?
Yep. We'll just say that's what it is.
Okay.
It's like we're in the middle of having this discussion and something has happened and then oh my god, there's a bubble. What the hell?
Yeah. So, which fails, the take over the world or flying boats? No.
My grief
Okay.
tokens.
Actually, this is a super meaningful choice because it creates the scenario that the bubble encases, right? Were they ready, or did the conquest plan actually start to fall apart even before the bubble went up?
I think the dissension among that one voice in the group made it difficult to advance the plans to take over the world because
Well, but they got lost, right? Villenarth got lost in the storm.
Yeah, but there are still
there were
people that
still
do
people.
not like being put upon. They're saddled with all
Oh.
this debt
And
to.
this is Tillitha, the hero of Dinuther, speaking. Very, very
Right.
long lived.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people that are in that whole 99 percenters. You know.
Yeah.
So the flying boat union supports Tillitha. So that's why the flying boat project fails, or
Yep.
are you, well, or no, I'm sorry, or because the truth is that we could say take over the world fails, and what that would mean is even as the bubble went up, the initial plan to begin world conquest was already starting to fall apart, which
Right.
I think like that's meaningful from a story perspective, right? Like were they
Mhm.
sealed away on the verge of actually succeeding, or was it really kind of a doomed prospect to begin with?
I feel like it's a doomed prospect to begin with. So I
Yeah.
think that one is the one that fails.
Yep.
Okay.
You've got all of these outside these factions that are like you've got the people that are bonded to the automatons. You've got your PETA people. You've got your roaming marauders. You've got your cults. All this stuff.
Which I think gives some nice dramatic irony to what Tillitha and her companions did, because the whole motivation was to stop them from getting everywhere out and taking over the world, and then it seems like maybe they would have failed to do that anyway.
The irony.
But so in any case, I think if we were to keep playing normally, it would have been 2 more turns, but I think let's go ahead and just say, as we watch, our final image is the people who opposed this, causing enough trouble supporting Tillitha's last message of opposing this. The things start to fall apart. The magic is starting to fail, but then a magical shield encompasses the whole island, and our camera pulls away, and we see then from a distance across the water just the glint of light in the rising sun. And that is the quiet year.
Yay.
Yay! Thank you for playing this with me, you guys. I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
And
I have my grief or
yeah.
contempt. Sorry.
So yes, and as just a reminder, I am out of town next week, so there won't
So
be
am I.
any session next week. But the hope is that we will be back in 2 weeks. So thank you everybody for listening and or watching, and we'll be back for more adventure on so many levels.
So many
So
levels.
many
Oh,
levels.
many